it looks to me like a lot of the arguments, for example, that would force us to take the apocalyptic prognostications of the doomsayers seriously, the moral arguments go something like this. Well, 100 years, if there's a lot of climate change, it's primarily going to be the world's poor who pay the largest price for that, the world's poor and oppressed. And to mitigate against that, we have to adopt policies that, however painful they are in the short term, will mitigate against that because of our concern for the long-term viability of, let's say, these poverty-stricken people. But the problem with that is that the models aren't very reliable, and it's absolutely 100% certain that if we raise energy prices, which we have been doing quite effectively, and food prices, we're going to make life much more difficult for impoverished people throughout the developing world right now. And in a way that's going to kill plenty of people, and it's certainly going to deprive many others of educational opportunity and optimal nutritional input and all of that. 100% certain that's going to occur. But the moral aspect is, well, we shouldn't be doing things that would endanger those people who are oppressed and poor. But the policies we're pursuing do precisely that. So I'm still left with this complete incapacity to understand how this can possibly be the case. I don't get it, because there's lots of other things we could be doing.
Well, leaders in Africa are quite outspoken. They're on the front lines of being the victims of all this. They refer to green colonialism, energy apartheid, that they're facing over this global warming policies.
Right.
And they can't get loans from development banks to build. They have plenty of natural gas, coal, a lot of fossil fuel resources in Africa. They can't get loans to build their own power plants. The only thing that they're able to do is sell their fuel to Europe. So Europe is exploiting them doubly by taking their fuel, but not allowing, it's politically incorrect for these banks to fund the development of power plants. So Africans can develop their own economy. It's just evil, and I think green colonialism and energy apartheid are perfect descriptors for what's going on.
Well, it leaves me open-mouthed in amazement that we in the developed world, with our functional economies and our high level of luxury and security, can say to the developing world, well, we've got it pretty good here, and we're probably willing to cut back a little bit, but you guys down there in the developing countries, you should be pretty damn careful about your carbon output, because, we've only got one planet, and so it isn't really obvious that any of you should have the same kind of benefits that we have. The planet can't sustain that level of luxury and security, and so we're just not going to let you have any money. We're not going to help you develop your economy so that you can benefit from the same industrial revolution that has enabled us to educate our children and to have plenty to eat and to be warm in the winter and cool in the summer. And then what's even more preposterous is it's the very people who are constantly clamoring about the oppressive nature of Western culture who are foisting this very story on these developed countries.
Yeah, the irony is that even if the African nations were given, the carbon credits or whatever and allowed to develop to where they want to be and where anyone expects them to be, at most they would be emitting like 5 or 6% of global emissions, and this is for like 1 billion people in the population. So we're not talking about a lot of extra emissions to allow them to develop. I mean, it just makes absolutely no sense, and it's evil. It's absolutely evil.
Well, I've looked across a wide variety of political and scientific thinkers over a 20-year period, trying to identify people that I believe to be credible on the interface between economic development and energy and environmental management. And I like Schellenberger. I think Alec Epstein has some interesting things to say. I like Marion Tupy. And so, but of all those people, I think Lomborg has done the most credible job. And he's also been given a damn rough ride in the media. I mean, he's doing pretty well now, I think, promoting his message, which is it's such a lovely, what he lays out is such a lovely scenario, because he shows how much good we could do in the world, especially with regard to the amelioration of absolute poverty and the provision of education, at such a tiny fraction of the amounts of money that are being devoted to this insane, prevention of a non-existent climate apocalypse. And well, you know, I've been doing everything I can, for whatever it's worth, to draw attention to his work. But you know, the fact that he's been pilloried, like you've been pilloried, makes it. Well, there's always a question lurking in the back of my mind. It's sort of like, well, where there's smoke, there's fire. If people are constantly being attacked for their views on moral grounds, you know, maybe there's something to that. But I haven't been able to find that in my analysis of your work or Franzen's. I certainly have seen none of that whatsoever in relationship to Lomborg.